Welcome to the Cashflow Project podcast. Are you looking to better your financial situation by increasing your cash flow? Too busy to hunt for real estate deals or don't know where to start? Then you're in the right spot. Join us as we dive in and talk about investing for cash flow using multifamily real estate.
Welcome to the Cashflow Project podcast. I'm your host, Steve Fieros with Tri-City Equity Group. Today, on this episode, we've got Alex Lopez on the show. So Alex is a managing partner at Osher CPAs. He's a Florida CPA specializing in CFO services and tax minimization strategy. He's got over 10 years of experience at a global firm and in corporate America, and now he's committed to delivering solutions that help businesses scale, increase profits, and minimize taxes. Their firm combines big firm and corporate experience with small business agility and practicality to help clients thrive. And of course, he's a real estate investor himself, so he knows what it's like to be in the market, in the trenches, alongside with the rest of us. But Alex, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Steve. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, no, excited to have you on. And especially when we're recording this, we're early in the year in 2026, right around time, right before tax time for a lot of people. Right before tax time is not the time that you want to be setting up a tax strategy. If in my experience, what I found, it's usually the time that shows the mistakes that you've made from the previous years of tax strategy or lack of tax strategy. I would love to dive into some of that with you in the show and how people can take advantage of what's in the tax code out there for them. But before we get started with a bunch of that, fill us in on your background. I know obviously you're based in Florida and by way of Colombia. I'd love to get a little bit of your background and how you even got into being a CPA, tax strategy, all of that kind of good stuff. Fill us in for those of our listeners that may not be too familiar with you. How you got going in the business?
Absolutely. Where to begin? We have a lot in common. We share a passion for real estate. I grew up in real estate, as I like to say. Ever since I was a kid, I just always loved buildings. There were a lot of real estate investors in my family, and I just grew up hearing about the topic, just admiring buildings. And it's something that stuck with me since then. And I grew up in Medellín, Colombia. We moved here when I was a kid during a difficult time. In the late 90s, it was the peak of the craziness that you might have seen or heard of. And we effectively sought political asylum in the US. And we arrived in Florida back in 1999. And I was a kid, I was in school. And not long after that was the beginning of the previous boom, right? Where things were going gangbusters in the real estate business. And Florida was the poster child of that effectively. Values were just going up astronomically here. And I couldn't wait to get my start. When I was in high school, I was just coming out of high school at about the peak of the market. And the second I was able to get my license to practice as a real estate professional here, I did. And I got a little taste of the market, a little taste of money at an early age. And I thought that was the thing, right? That was going to be it for life. But we all know where that went just a few years later. I'm effectively a child of the '08 crisis. Things just went downhill fast. Actually, we say the '08 crisis, but the crisis started way before that in Florida.
Right.
The market busted here, particularly for those who were in the real estate business. Things really went sour a couple of years before everybody else knew it. And I got some great experiences and I learned a ton, and it really humbled me to lose everything. I was buying property. My family was in the business here as well. And we lost our shirts. We lost many properties. So did everybody else. Friends, clients, neighbors, everybody started losing their properties, and the rest is history. So long story short, how I got into accounting, I stumbled into accounting. I didn't grow up wanting to be an accountant. I don't know who does, right? But I did grow up as a business enthusiast, not just real estate and business in general. I always wanted to be a businessman ever since I was a kid. And so I wanted a business degree, and I was taking steps to get that. I was just taking it easy because I was doing all right in real estate. But when the market turned, I stepped it up a notch with college, and soon enough, I had to take accounting courses, right? For any business degree, you have to take accounting courses. And I had one of my professors, actually in the first accounting course, who is a tried and true veteran of the industry in a big firm woman, very successful in her career, became a professor long after that. She really made an impression on me. She taught the whole class all about the great opportunities in the big firm world. And it also just so happened that at that time, you could be a Harvard MBA and you were likely unemployed. Wall Street was a disaster, not just in the mortgage and real estate industry, just the economy was completely shattered. But the accounting world was a bright spot. They were still hiring and there was still a lot of good opportunities. Not to mention that I found I had a knack for it. I ended up doing really well, and I ended up liking it a lot more than I thought because it was effectively like a language. It helped me see things so much more clearly and helped me figure out how I could have avoided so many mistakes that I made prior to that. And so I took a liking to it and I ended up switching my major to become an accountant. So in the middle of that, the market started coming back a little bit and I got a leg up to start at a commercial real estate firm with a dear friend of mine who got into the industry and introduced me to a firm that later became one of the big ones, part of one of the big ones. So I got a little taste of the commercial real estate business. I spent a few years there and started to do all right. I was really learning the ropes. The market was coming back. We were making deals. But guess what? It's time to graduate, right? And I'm at a crossroads. I have to decide, do I ditch my degree and stay in real estate, or do I start my career in one of the big firms? By the way, they only want you straight out of college. You can't go and mess around somewhere else and then go to one of the big firms. They want you either straight out of college or coming out of another notable firm. So for better or worse, I picked accounting. And the first thing I did when I started at one of the big global firms, as I told them, I love real estate. Please put me on your real estate clients. So I never really left the industry in a way. Ever since I was a kid, I've been involved in real estate one way or the other, about 20 years at this point. And I just kept that going. They put me on REITs, they put me on developer accounts, they put me on investment firms, heavily involved in real estate, and I just kept the learning and my involvement in real estate going all throughout. So that's how it all got started.
That's awesome. Yeah. And of course, there's tons to take away, even just from your brief intro there and fill us in your background. Yeah, I love that. This is always a good reminder to me. I've got young kids. And so I love that you saw, hey, my family's in real estate. And it's okay. Like, this is always something important to remember for all of our listeners, right? For all of our people just watching, tune in. It's, hey, you leave a legacy, you leave an impact, an imprint on that next generation, whether you're intending to or not. So like that, like you saw your family and kind of the people around you, like in real estate. So guess what? And normalizes that for you. Oh, it must be okay. My family did that, right? My family was invested into that. And so it becomes not a barrier for you, but almost an expectation, right? For those of you guys that are listening in, and maybe you're just getting started. Obviously, you're listening to a podcast potentially about real estate, but maybe not. Maybe you're a business owner or somebody who's interested. Real estate is an incredibly powerful tool from a variety of strategies, taxes being one of them, but also from wealth generation and cash flow perspective and whatnot as well. So I love that you saw that firsthand, let's say with your family. And that's not something that you guys left behind. It would have been easy. Oh, that works in Colombia, but it doesn't work here. It doesn't work into the
Everywhere.
No, it works. It works everywhere, especially because, hey guys, you know what? There's a ton of devaluation of the currency. I don't know. Every time you hear inflation, you got to think that there's inflation because they're printing money, right? And so the only way to hedge that is going to be, hey, let's own hard assets. And that's part of the name of the game, right? You avoid the inflation monster, as my kids to call it, by owning hard assets, right? Like real estate, precious metals, things that actually have tangible value. And so I love that you saw that from your family and now you're continuing to do that. So just, hey, let that be some motivation to you guys that are not in the game yet to get started. Yeah. So that alone, like I said, is inspirational and powerful. And I also enjoy talking to people who have been through market cycles. You've been in the business for an extended period of time now. Hey, it's not all rainbows and sunshine. The market's not always up and stay like that way forever. And it's not always down forever either, too, guys. If this last couple of years have been in a struggle for you, hey, you know what? That's okay. It doesn't stay that way it's very normal. Exactly. This is cyclical and that's part of the business. And then you also mentioned, hey, you lost everything. I did too. I started into the business before subprime fell out, before GFC, and I pretty much lost everything too, even though I didn't have much at that time. But it was that was a tough time. But again, you learn. right? You apply and you take whatever learned skills and you apply it to moving forward. But now you're in a unique position now, though, because you work with clients who are doing things. You obviously had a ton of experience with the big firms dealing with real estate. Is there anything that you learned there that you can, now that you help out clients, hey, the big boys are doing this, tax advantage, tax strategy wise, is there stuff, anything that's applicable to even a smaller investor? They say, Alex, I'm not a REIT. Is there something I can do that helps me along my tax journey, real estate investing?
Oh yeah, massively. A lot more than people realize. And you nailed it in the head at the beginning, pointing out that this is a good time to start thinking about the not last year, but this year, right? Because it really all starts with proactive thinking and planning. When you put the time and the effort into doing that and uncovering the opportunities for tax minimization strategies that there are early enough in the year, you can usually accomplish a large portion of what the big boys do, as I like to say, because the tools that are at their disposal are largely also available at the disposal of the everyday person, particularly business owners and investors. The tax code is very friendly towards business owners and investors because they want us to do what we do. They want us to invest, create businesses, employ people, innovate. So there are a number of ways to minimize taxes that almost anybody can do. And I'm happy to say that real estate is one of the main ones. Investing in real estate already puts you at a big advantage there. And there's a number of others that we can get into, but I'll start with that one, real estate.
But
It is that
wait,
powerful.
Alex, but the guys on TV, they say that it's not good if I'm not paying my taxes. Isn't that a bad thing? Isn't that? No, I love that you say there, hey, you know what? The IRS, the government, the tax code is written for us to do what we do, right? It's written for business owners and entrepreneurs to go out and create more value. Because guess what, guys? When we create more value, when Alex creates more value in his business, right? When I create more value in my business and all of our partners do the same, and you do it in your business, guess what you're able to provide and create for the marketplace? You create value. You create opportunity for other people that wouldn't otherwise have it. So if you can take a portion of whatever your tax liability was to go back, use the tax code legally, put it back into your business, now you can grow your business more rapidly, larger. And guess what? That provides more opportunity for more people, which is now stimulating the economy. So it's written for us. So too many people, I feel like, have a negative take on the tax code and, oh, pay your fair share. We're creating more than our fair share of taxes. So that's just something to keep in mind. Turn the TV off, focus on the business, talk to Alex, let's talk some taxes.
100%. And you nailed it in the head. Some people think that, how is it? Some say playing the game to pay less in taxes. It's really not a game. It's something that has been left for us to utilize as intended. And the reason why real estate is so advantaged is because it's a massive industry that employs a lot of people. It's not about us just owning buildings and renting out properties and people having places to house their businesses and to live in. It's also about all the construction workers and all the bankers and all the architects and all the engineers and everybody else that's involved in the larger industry of real estate. So it is a massive employment generator and a value creator. So it's okay to minimize taxes. You could be a good citizen or you could be a dumb citizen, right? A good citizen pays his fair share of taxes. And if that's zero, then you're still a good citizen.
Right. Because a lot of times, again, if you're paying zero in taxes, then typically that means that you're smart. I love that you put that. You either be a good citizen or a dumb citizen. Again, you're providing value in the marketplace. The tax code is written for you to be able to do that. And the more that you're able to do that, again, the more value then you're bringing to the marketplace. And I love that you said that. There's so many ancillary services that come along with even just a single real estate deal. Guys, just think about it. Hey, you want to go put a deal together. Guess what? How many people are involved in that process? Title companies, loan officers, inspectors, contractors, CPAs, tax attorneys, right? There's so many people that you are providing business for, even just buying a single house. Like it's crazy. So just think about that next time you're buying a deal. Hey, we need to go out and provide some more opportunities for people.
Oh, yeah, the property managers, the landscapers.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
The people at the mines where they got all the materials to build the property.
Yes.
It's huge.
That's right. That's right.
That's what they
Absolutely.
wanted to invest. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. So they made some changes last year to the tax code. I would love to get your take on, hey, is there anything that you're seeing opportunity wise within the tax code or maybe tax strategy that people can implement? Just don't give away the whole playbook, but is there anything that you can help that you see? Okay, hey, look, this wasn't available last year that's available now that can help factor into maybe some of the listeners' investing strategy?
Sure. The biggest one is 100% depreciation being back on the table and with no end in sight. That is absolutely massive. That is something that we had not seen. We did not expect to have it back permanently now. And it is a huge motivator for people to get into the market or to stay in the market. So I would really capitalize on that one. That combined with cost segregation strategies, it's incredibly powerful.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. And we've used it to great effect. We do it on every one of our deals. Then that's something that you absolutely need to be taking advantage of. Alex, can you fill us in just real high level? What is that, right? If somebody's never heard of bonus depreciation, they don't know what cost segregation is, just real high level, fill us in. What is that?
Absolutely. Let's talk about the specifics. So when you invest in real estate, generally you're not able to write off the entire cost of the property, right? It's effectively the value of the structure and it's all of its components that you're able to depreciate, which means that you deduct it over a number of years, depending on whether it's residential property or commercial property. Now, that's 27 and a half years or 39 years for commercial. So, yeah, that's a long time. But guess what? These are big numbers. And usually you're only putting down a fraction of the purchase price as a down payment and you're financing the rest and you still get to deduct the entire purchase price. So these are big numbers. And that is the number one reason why real estate is such a powerful tool against taxes, because when you deduct the cost of an entire property, the structure thereof, it's a big number that's going to chip away at your taxable income big time every year. So that's been around forever. And even when you divide that cost over that many years, you still get a really good tax advantage. But with a cost segregation, you're able to break up the components of a building and take a much larger depreciation expense in the earlier years. So I like to use a warehouse as an example. So if you buy, let's say, $1 million warehouse building as an investment property, and let's just say for a second that the value is worth very little. So let's say $1 million worth of value in the structure. Typically, you're going to need to take that deduction over 39 years. But with a cost segregation study, you can identify things such as, let's say there's a racking system in the warehouse, which is very common, right? An expensive racking system. And that alone is worth 200 grand. So you can argue that puppy gets deducted early on. Could be as much as the whole thing, the first year or over the first few years. So this creates a massive paper loss, as you call it, where your tax return will show that you're losing money, even though you really are likely doing very well with your rental income. You're likely seeing positive cash flow, nice rental income, but your tax return shows that you're losing money on the property. Appropriately, by the way, there's absolutely nothing wrong with this. They want you to do this. So that is what the cost segregation strategy is, where you order a report, usually from an engineering firm or from a tax specialist that specializes in this area. And that report will show you the different components of the building and how they can be depreciated over different lives, thereby accelerating your deductions to the earlier years. So this usually results in a massive tax benefit to the investors. And it's not complicated or expensive to do. And it's also actually, this is an interesting one. Some people feel that might be an aggressive approach. It's actually quite the opposite. It's the preferred approach for the IRS because they're very big on identifying separate assets. They want you to separate things and depreciate them according to what they believe should be the life of each asset. So it's one of those nerdy facts. But yeah, at the end of the day, you're doing it even more compliantly, and you're generating a much bigger benefit.
Yeah.
It's
And to me,
it's a favorite.
I was going to say, to me, it makes perfect sense too, because, hey, you know what? If let's say you're just starting off that warehouse business, right? You're starting off this commercial real estate. Let's say that's the first business that you buy, guys. Okay, to Alex's point, hey, that racking system where they're going to store all these products in the warehouse, right? Because you can't just, hey, we're going to throw it in a pile in the corner. No, yeah, you got racks. You're going to load pallets on there or store whatever it is that you're storing or the client is. Hey, then maybe that doesn't last 39 years, right? Maybe it only lasts, it's got a 10-year life cycle. So what they're allowing you to do is say, okay, let's separate this out from the warehouse structure. It is still a part of the building, but it has a shorter life than, let's say, the near 40-year life, the 39-year life of the warehouse itself. So they're going to say, all right, the roof has 15 years, that racking system's got 10 years. Hey, let's go ahead, and that has a certain value, that 200 grand that Alex said. We're going to allow you to depreciate that all and take advantage of it all in year one. Now, what is typically the most stressful period for a new business? Is that earlier on, or is that 39 years down the road? That's earlier on. So the more relief, the more advantage that you can give to a newer business, or really any business. I'd rather have more cash in hand early on. And so this allows you to do it from year one, right? And so now, instead of having that spread out over the next 39 years or 27 and a half years, depending on if it's residential, commercial, now I have that cash in hand. If I don't do anything else with it, it makes my business safer. So now I'm more resilient to weather economic storms. Or let's say you're a seasoned business owner, you're a seasoned operator, I can take that capital and go deploy it maybe into another warehouse, right? Or some other equipment for the warehouse, or any number of different things that you might need specific to your business. But it helps to fast track your business growth. It helps to fast track your investment, your overall investing strategy, or just makes you a better, like a more resilient business. So again, use the tools available to you. And I love that, Alex, I love that you said that's the preferred way for them. As soon as you said that, my immediate thought is, hey, you're actually a more astute business owner. Hey, you're actually mindful of your business versus just being asleep at the wheel. I would have never thought of it as, hey, this is how they prefer it. But yeah, because you're doing kind of some work for them, right? Like you're taking the extra step of going and breaking down the structure, categorizing it in the right way and whatnot. So that's cool that you said. I've never heard that.
Yeah, interestingly enough, when you push through the cost segregation, you're technically correcting. You're technically correcting a tax return when you do it for a property that you already were depreciating previously. It's a fun fact. You're correcting your approach,
Awesome.
which is exactly right. You're saying, hey, this is a different asset. That's not the building. That's a racking system. So it's powerful stuff.
That's cool. And are you seeing that? Is that something that you're helping clients now? Okay, hey, we're doing strategizing. What are you going to be doing this year? Because can that fit into how you approach your business or your investing strategy? Is that something you're helping guide clients on?
Exactly. So that's my bread and butter, is helping clients navigate this type of decision, this type of strategy. I don't actually perform cost segregation studies. There are third parties for that. People usually will just hire an engineering firm or whoever the real estate professional recommends. But the biggest thing about it is simulating what the impact is going to be and deciding whether it is what you want to do, right? Because this is elective. Everybody's situation is different. Some people already have a low enough taxable income or are already presenting a loss where they might not need this now. They might want to do it down the road, or they might want to do it for one property but not the other. So it is a very powerful tool. It doesn't mean it's right every time for everyone. And that's a big part of the planning that's supposed to take place, right? Because for this type of thing, typically you don't want to wait until tax season, right? To push one of these tactics through. This is something to think about. Q1, Q2, you get your ducks in a row, and then you start pushing them through in the middle of the year, Q3-ish. And that's how you really cut down on taxes with this type of tactic. And I always like to point out to friends, family, clients that they should look at tax savings as ROI, right? That's every penny that you save on taxes is part of your ROI, and it's actually usually significantly higher than the ROI itself on most investments. So whenever you can claw back some dollars, then it's what you should do.
I think for most everybody, I think this works pretty much across the board, right? Taxes is it's your most significant expense. like,
Oh, yeah.
like for the individual. And again, like maybe you're not if you're listening in and you're like, Alex, Steve, that sounds great, but I'm not a commercial warehouse investor. So this doesn't apply to me.
You work for houses too.
See, there you go. And again, it's just being strategic with what you know. And you can either be a good citizen or a dumb citizen. What was your terminology earlier? I love
Yeah,
that.
that was it.
But yeah, but this is where, okay, hey, I'm going to go to somebody who knows more than I do about helping me and strategize. Because hey, maybe I'm thinking about buying a rental property this year. Okay, let's look at your tax situation because maybe it would be wise for you to do that. Maybe it'd be wise for you because of your income level or your certain tax situation. You know what? Maybe in being your best interest to buy two or three, and seeing that how much tax savings that can help you with. Wow. Okay. Wow. That's going to reduce my tax liability that much. I'm going to have that much more extra capital to deploy. Yeah. I think there's room for two deals in there versus one or whatever. But again, you wouldn't know that without talking to somebody like Alex who puts it on your radar and can help to map out what that looks like for your personal situation.
Exactly.
Yeah. Is there anything else interesting this year or that you're helping clients focus on? Obviously, you're in Florida. We live in very different markets, Hawaii versus Florida. Florida's still you guys have had a ton of people coming to the state. Obviously, what that means, a lot of new businesses. Hawaii's not quite in that same position. But is there anything exciting that you're seeing on the horizon or new opportunities that you're seeing either in your home market or with clients across the country? Or is that kind of the biggest thing?
Opportunities. As it pertains to tax strategy, it's more of the oldies but goodies. And I always start with the basics, with the foundations. One of the biggest things that I see people miss out on is the right structuring. So that's what it's a very common theme where an investor or a business owner is just not set up properly in terms of their legal structure and how that interfaces with the IRS and how it works with the rest of their partners, co-owners. And that could have a massive tax impact as well as other consequences legally and operationally. So that's one of the big ones. As far as investing opportunities, I'm a big believer that there are great opportunities right now in the state of Florida to purchase distressed property in particular, multifamily in particular, and that's only going to get better. So a lot of our clients are taking steps and building up capital and setting the framework to capitalize on that, myself included. And another fun one that's becoming more popular as well is oil and gas investments. That is a really good one for tax minimization as well. Now, this is not for the faint of heart, and it's an interesting one, but it's one that we're seeing increasingly more interest, and it's really played out really well for a lot of our clients and peers. I'll tell you a little bit about the tax benefits of that one. It's similar to real estate. So, look, when you hear about oil and gas investments, it's another one of the things that for most people it sounds like, oh, that's for massive corporations or for the ultra wealthy only. And what am I going to do? I'm not going to buy an oil well or start exploring for natural gas. Fair point. It doesn't sound easy or simple, but the reality is that it's another one of those things where Uncle Sam wants you to invest. They want you to get involved. So they have huge tax benefits. And it's very similar to depreciation in real estate, accelerated depreciation in particular. Couple different ways to go about it, but put it this way. You can invest as an LP or as a limited partner or as a general partner in an oil and gas exploration business, which there are plenty of all over Texas, Oklahoma, within the United States is where you get the benefits. And you are able to write off the majority of your investment like it was an expense, basically. It's very powerful, right? Because you get a deduction for between 80 to 90% of what you invest. You get that deduction up front, but then you obviously you keep it's not an expense, it's an investment. It's something that's going to give you cash flow and then eventually you might cash out as well. So it's incredibly powerful because it's almost like free money, really. And a lot of people that get into this, they might be looking at 35, 37% taxes. So they get this big write-off up front, but meanwhile, they're getting 8, 9, 10% cash flow annualized, but they're getting quarterly distributions. So it's a very powerful strategy. And it is not reserved for the large corporations or for the rich. Anybody can invest in these things, and the minimums are not even that high. The minimums could be as little as $25,000, $50,000. And I don't promote any of these investments myself. It's just one of those things that are usually part of a larger plan and strategy around tax minimization. Hey, what do I put in this bucket? What do I put in that bucket? How is that going to impact me? So that is a really fun one, and it's somewhat aligned with real estate as well. The reason why you get the huge tax benefit, apart from, like I was saying, that they want you to invest in this, but the way that it is structured and conceptualized is that, well, these companies have these huge expenses to drill down for these minerals. And normally that's something that, like real estate, you would have to capitalize those costs and take it over many years. But they're incentivizing that, they're allowing them to take most of it up front so they pass you the cost on paper. And that's how you end up with these outsized deductions in the early years of those investments. So it's a fun one. It's a fun, very powerful one.
You're not the first person and that's been like a hot kind of topic this past little stretch. And again, a lot of this stuff is going to vary too, guys, depending on, hey, what's the administration doing? Because that's going to change every 4 years. So there may be an extra emphasis on that. Part of it is like, all right, what's the current macroeconomic picture dictate? Hey, we got everybody's focus on AI. Okay, data centers, AI, chips, and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, yes. But at the end of the day, what powers a lot of these data centers, right? They need energy. It's like Hawaii. Okay, solar is great because we get tons of sunshine throughout the day, but there are mass amounts. The vast majority of the country does not benefit from having a ton of solar installed. So the country still runs on oil. It's one of those things where it's, okay, if you just think one more step back, okay, great, like AI disruption, technology, that's awesome, but we still need energy to power all of that, guys. And so it's, you invest in are you going to be the gold miner, the AI, the tech guys, or are you going to be the one involved in the picks and the shovels? Because those are the guys that are making money. Because again, there's plenty of startup projects that are doing AI related stuff. The vast majority of them aren't going to play out. They're not going to, just because that's also a risky business. It can be. But you can benefit by investing in, like you said, oldies but goodies. Oil's been around forever. So that's just another, and none of this is financial advice, guys. We're just two guys talking on the internet. Alex and I you might be able to give them some advice, but maybe not just listening on the show. But anyway, do your research, of course, but it is an interesting potential investment to learn more about. So thank you for putting that on our radar, Alex.
Oh, of course. And I guess just to add to that, the caveat is I always like to have people talk to their wealth advisor about these things.
Yeah.
And as I said, it's not for the faint of heart. A lot of people just shy away from them entirely because it's not your everyday blue chip stock, but it is a very powerful tool. So I encourage people to be intellectually curious about these things and do their homework, like you said.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. As we wind down the show, our last segment is what we call our fire round. It's just a little bit more fun, kind of rapid fire Q&A. Is that something you're interested in? It's warming up. All right. All right. First question then. What would be your favorite book recommendation? People ask you, hey, Alex, I'm interested in investing or learning about tax strategies or whatever. Do you have some go-tos? And it can be whatever. It can be mindset. It can be whatever. Do you have some go-to book recommendations that you give to people?
Okay, so it doesn't have to be just one.
No, it can be multiple, and it doesn't have to be tax related. It can be whatever. It can be anything you want.
I got you. Yeah, I'm a pretty voracious reader, and there's a few lately that I've really enjoyed, and some of which are oldies but goodies, right? For those real estate minded, which should be pretty much everyone here, right? I really love The Confessions of a Real Estate Entrepreneur by James Randall. This guy is the GOAT. Love him. Originally a lawyer turned ultra successful real estate investor. Amazing book. I really enjoyed Buy Back Your Time. I read it recently for the first time. That's a fantastic one. Dan Martell's really just nailed it right there. And then for those wanting to learn a little bit more about taxes, There's one called Tax-Free Wealth by Tom Wheelwright, actually co-written by Robert Kiyosaki. And I thought it was a really good piece. It offers a really nice introduction into the world of tax strategies. Very good for the layperson. And then later on, it gets a little more advanced. And yeah, I think that would be good for anybody wanting to get their feet with this type of topic. And if I may, just one more,
Yeah.
the E-Myth. I love that one.
Yeah.
That one has a lot of different versions geared towards different industries. Mine was the CFO version. I really enjoyed it, but they're all pretty similar. They just have some nuances around whatever profession you're in. And that one is really about systems and SOPs and just mindset. The mindset of a scaling business owner rather than a solopreneur or a practitioner. It's really powerful stuff. Pretty simple, but powerful stuff. Yeah, those are my favorites at the moment.
Yeah, great books. I've gone through most of those, and yeah, definitely powerful. And a lot of times, guys, as you're going through some of these books and listening to the shows and talking to people, that's usually what I'll recommend is if you can take away one key concept that really just changes the trajectory of what it is that you're doing, your business, your investing strategy, that can be game changing. Going through any of these books, again, you're going to find a lot of value or listening to the show, right? But if it's just taking away one particular strategy, it can change so much for you in your business, in your life. Don't go away from being a perpetual learner. So I love that you're a voracious reader there, Alex. So thank you for that. All right. Next question. What would you consider your superpower to be?
My superpower is to understand very complex situations relatively quickly. And that's more of a learned skill than a superpower, so to speak. It's something that they force you to learn at the big firms, right? They throw you in a room and they give you a 575-page agreement between Goldman Sachs and some real estate developer, and then want you to understand that and intelligently summarize it and talk to the partners about it. And you got to do that like your first week on the job. So it's after you do it for a while, you develop the skill to understand these complicated things and just cut to the meat and potatoes relatively quickly.
Yeah, that's definitely a that's definitely a great skill to have. But yeah, like I think to your point, it is a learned thing for most people. All right, very good. All right, next question. If you had a time machine, you could go back and visit 20-year-old Alex. What advice would you have for him?
20 years old, don't leave the real estate business at all. I did it, but just probably would have tripled down on the investing side of real estate and never looked back.
Awesome. Yeah, for a lot of investors, it's never, and this is a common phrase, so you guys have probably heard of this before, but it's not timing the market, it's time in the market, right? So like that, Alex says, hey, if I can go back and my 20-year-old self and just focus completely on real estate and buy even more, triple down on that. Gosh, what would those assets be worth today? Yeah. What would that effort and energy be worth today? And I can attest to that too. I wish I would have been able to be in a position to start earlier than I did. And if I would go back, oh my goodness, yeah.
And not sell.
And not sell.
The big thing. I sold a few properties that, man, I'd be sitting way prettier if I hadn't sold a few properties that, painful mistakes, right?
Yeah. Learn from our mistakes and make a success in your personal investing strategy, listeners.
Exactly.
And the last question, Alex, if our audience wants to get in touch with you, they've got questions, they want to see what maybe you guys can do for them, what's the best way for them to reach out and connect with you?
My door is always open. You guys can find me at alexlopezcpa.com.
Awesome. Alex, I greatly appreciate you taking time out of your day, hopping on with me and providing value for the listeners. So thanks for hopping on. Would love to circle back with you in the future, maybe see, hey, is there anything exciting on the horizon, strategy-wise, tax-wise, and just to touch base. But I appreciate you taking time out of your day and hopping on with me and the listeners.
Likewise, absolutely. And I look forward to our next talk.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Alex. Aloha.
Thank you. Bye.
Oh, what a great episode with Alex Lopez. He's a CPA, definitely filling us in on some potential opportunities in terms of investing, but also the value of proper tax strategy, overall wealth strategy, right? There's so many different things written into the tax code that you may not be aware of or be able to implement or be implementing rather in your current investing or business journey. So make sure that you guys reach out, connect with him, alexlopez.com, and touch base with him and see what he can do for you. But guys, if you're interested in investing with us, you can go to tricityequity.com to learn more. We've got previous deals on there, the current portfolio. And so we'd love to be able to connect with you and see if there's value that we can provide to you into your investing strategy. If you want to connect with other local like-minded investors here in Hawaii, you can join our Facebook group, Honolulu Multifamily and More. We meet up every month. We've got a great group that continues to come out every month. We've had that for well over 6 years. And it's an awesome opportunity. You need people around you who understand what you're going through, more can share in successes. And that way, either you can avoid failures, and maybe you've got a ton to offer. Maybe you've got a lot of experience, but you don't have really anybody to share that with. I found it's incredibly fulfilling to be able to share your successes and failures with other business owners, other entrepreneurs, other investors. Like, we need community in order to do that. So would highly encourage you guys to come out to the next meetup. And of course, if you're finding value in the podcast, like, subscribe, share, depending on what platform that you're on. No matter what, share. It's the only way that we can get feedback from you guys that you guys are enjoying the content and continues to help us to do it. We'd greatly appreciate that. That's it for me today, guys. We'll see you on the next episode. Go out, take some action, and enjoy a beautiful 2026. Aloha.